We're not talking about the annual House of Horrors that pop up every Halloween. No, these haunted homes, located in towns across the US, are the crime scenes for true tales of axe murders and massacres, lost children, and angry demons and ghosts. That's right, everything your scary documentary, obsessed brain lives for. But here's the true test of your bravery, you can actually stay the night at some of these frightening abodes. We also know about some haunted Airbnbs, if you're really into that sort of thing. So, ghost hunters, read on for the spookiest haunted houses in the United States. The Sallie House, Atchison. Originally built at the turn of the century, this house became the residence of an Atchison physician. The front served as office space and examination rooms, while the doctor and his family lived upstairs. One day, a frantic mother arrived carrying her 6-year-old daughter, Sallie. The child had collapsed from severe abdominal pain. The doctor diagnosed appendicitis and knew there was no time to delay surgery. Believing the appendix would soon burst, the doctor began cutting Sallie before the anesthesia took full effect. Sallie's screams suddenly stopped, and she grew pale and limp. She died on the operating table, her last memories of a man whom she believed was torturing her. Villisca Axe Murder House, Villisca. On a quiet residential street in this small town sits an old white frame house. On a dark evening, the absence of lights and sounds are the first indication to visitors that this house is different from the other homes that surround it. Upon closer inspection, you'll notice its doors and windows are tightly closed and covered. An outhouse in the backyard suggests that this house does not occupy a place in the 21st century, but somehow belongs in another era or another story. A weather-beaten sign hanging from the decrepit front porch warns rather than welcomes. It is the murder house. The walls still protect the identity of the murderer, or murderers who bludgeoned to death the entire family of Josiah Moore and 2 overnight guests on June 10, 1912. Almost 97 years later, her secret continues to draw many visitors to her door. To some, it seems to be speaking. Visits by paranormal investigators have provided audio, video and photographic proof of paranormal activity. Tours have been cut short by children's voices, falling lamps, moving ladders and flying objects. Psychics have confirmed the presence of spirits dwelling in the home, and many have actually communicated with them, and skeptics have left believers. Is the Villisca Axe Murder House haunted? You tell us. Your belief may be the key that unlocks the door to the Villisca Axe murder mystery. LaLaurie House, New Orleans. Coven reignited interest in this famous French Quarter haunt. In the series, Kathy Bates plays real-life socialite and serial killer Madame Delphine LaLaurie, who orchestrated a torture chamber for slaves at the Royal Street Mansion from 1831 until 1834, when responders to a fire uncovered her dark secret. LaLaurie's victims are said to haunt the property to this day. Passers-by say they can hear shouts, moans and weeping, and some say they have seen ghostly faces from the upstairs windows. Yet, the house's ghastly history hasn't stopped wealthy buyers. Before losing the home to foreclosure in 2009, actor Nicolas Cage owned the house. Today a wealthy oil tycoon is said to hold the deed. Lizzie Borden House, Fall River. Lizzie Borden is still laughing about getting away with murder, according to some. Late at night she can be heard cackling at the top of the stairs near where she gave her stepmother 40 whacks. But she's not the only spirit who haunts the scene of the 1892 crime. Both of her axed parents are said to stalk the grounds, as does a maid screaming for help, according to guests of the Now Museum and B&B. Lizzie Borden House attracts guests from all over the world, especially for the anniversary reenactment every August. Bell Witch Farm, Adams. It's the age-old tale of neighbors at war. A woman named Kate Batts believed her neighbor John Bell cheated her out of some land, and so, lying on her deathbed in the early 19th century, she swore she would haunt him forever. The Bell family said they experienced physical attacks, heard chains dragged across floors, noises in the walls, and saw odd-looking animals on their farm, including a dog with a rabbit's head. Today you can tour the property's cave and reconstructed cabin and stop by for the annual Bell Witch Festival. Lemp Mansion. Even all the beer in the world won't necessarily lead to happiness. Case in point, the Lemp family, purveyors of Lemp Brewing Company, a stalwart in St. Louis before Prohibition hit. 4 members of the family killed themselves between 1904 and 1949. 3 of them inside the 33-room Victorian mansion, where they allegedly still reside, haunting guests of the converted restaurant. It has since been turned into a restaurant and inn, where you can spend the night and even partake in a ghost tour. Farnsworth House, Gettysburg. The waiters at this inn won't be the only ones dressed up in Civil Warrior clothes. Expect to see some long-dead Confederate soldiers clad similarly as well. During the Battle of Gettysburg, many of the South soldiers hid and died, which explains the 100-plus bullet pox in the brick walls. After the fighting in the area was over, the house became a hospital for soldiers. Whether at the inn or in the area, learn about some of the weird supernatural occurrences during a ghost tour or plan to stay the night. It's still an inn to this day. Winchester Mystery House, San Jose. Her husband developed the gun that won the West, which came back to bite Sarah Winchester in the butt. After losing her husband and a young daughter, the widow Winchester consulted a spiritualist who alleged the family was being haunted by Native Americans, Civil War soldiers and others killed by the famous rifle. It was recommended that Winchester move west and use her $20 million inheritance to continuously build a home to appease the spirits. What was erected between 1884 and 1922, now known as the Winchester Mystery House, was a sprawling 160-room mansion with haphazard architecture that leads touring guests to nowhere, though there are spirit guides. Ferry Plantation House, Virginia Beach. A total of 11 reported spirits have been known to haunt the grounds of this southern plantation, including passengers of a shipwrecked ferry, a former slave and Grace Sherwood, a woman who was accused of being a witch and was tried by ducking in the 1700s. These days, when you visit the historic house museum to admire the Federal-style architecture, listen carefully and you might hear Grace yelling at her dead dog, Tobias. House of Death, New York. The city that never sleeps is probably just too afraid of the House of Death to close its eyes. The famous brownstone off of Fifth Avenue is reportedly terrorized by a whopping 22 ghosts. The most famous is writer Mark Twain, who lived here from 1900 to 1901. The most heartbreaking is the 6-year-old girl beaten to death by her father, criminal prosecutor Joel Steinberg, in 1987. In addition to sightings of Twain and the young girl, residents say they have seen visions of a lady in white and a gray cat. If you like this video and want to see more of this content, please like it, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell. And if you didn't like it, then write in the comments what exactly you didn't like. Thank you for the views, see you soon.